Slayer's X-Terminal Aftermath, Vengeance of the Slayer. First released June of 2023. Available on all modern platforms. Retailing for $16.99. And I won't be saying that title again because it is ridiculous. This game is a retro-style first-person shooter, very much intentionally going for the feel of Doom clones of the 90s. But honestly, it doesn't really feel like one that would have been officially released on store shelves. It feels more like a Doom WOD or mod that would have been made by someone on their own time, which is appropriate as the story of the game pretty much is exactly that.
When I was 16, I designed a computer game in this notebook, and it was awesome. But then, it got lost. Or was it?
But it doesn't really feel like a Doom WOD, it actually feels like a modification for another 90s first-person shooter. It's far more akin to Duke Nukem 3D and its build engine brethren, as we have a force of enemies that's a little hard to take seriously, and a very mouthy protagonist that is just trying so very hard to be cool, or at least that weird, edgy 90s kind of cool. But anyway, our game begins, and our character is a Slayer. There's an intentionally bad cutscene to explain everything. And throughout the game, you'll be greeted with lots of intentionally bad cutscenes. He and his friends are attacked by the Psycho Syndicate. Who these people are and why exactly they hate our hero is unclear, but they are apparently insane, possibly a cult, and have something to do with potatoes and feces, up to the point you actually do encounter feces monsters that apparently work for them. And once the game starts, you'll notice many things in the world seems like they could be based on real locations. Not exactly how something real would look, but as close as it could be gotten to in a 90s level editor kind of way. And later, you actually get to a level that's supposed to be a level of another game, which is again something very common to see in various mods back in the day. After you made mock-ups of all the real-life locations you could think of, you started just borrowing ideas wholesale from other games. Of course, in this case, it's not from a real other game, it's from some fictional game within this world. There is one thing here that does set it apart from actual 90s first-person shooters, and that is the fact you frequently need to backtrack in levels, and that new enemies will have spawned in when you go to do this. I assume their spawning is connected to when you pick up a key. As in every level, you are ultimately just trying to find the exit, and there are usually some locked doors on the way to that goal. There's also a unique mechanic at play here. You have health, and also armor, which is standard, but the armor doubles as ammo for some weapons. The armor is referred to as hack blood here. For example, your melee weapon, when you're at full armor, can fire a few shots, each of which will cost some of your armor. And later you get the hack blood talisman that allows you to throw explosions and fly to a limited extent. It goes through your hack blood very quickly, but is quite powerful while doing so. The other weapons are somewhat different from the standard. You actually start out dual-wielding pistols. The shotgun equivalent is actually firing glass shards, so its ammo is actually picked up whenever you break a window in-game. The chain gun and rocket launcher are fairly standard, but you do get a weapon that fires explosive cans at people. These cans also summon rats to attack your enemies, which makes it ideal for fighting hordes of weak enemies. And hordes of enemies is something you'll encounter a lot. So is this game worth your time and money? I guess that depends. Do you have any nostalgia for the WODs and mods of the 90s? When there was an endless sea of them out there, all made by teenaged amateurs trying to recreate their hometowns and high schools? Or recreating things they saw in movies and other games? Because this entire game is just one huge meta joke on that time. And that's not to say that it's bad, it's actually a very competent first-person shooter. It's also interesting that most of the levels begin where the last level ended, usually letting you know with a sign that there is no going back. It doesn't happen for every single level, but it is interesting that it does happen. It adds more realism than you're used to seeing in a 2.5D shooter, and it makes for an interesting contrast against the hordes of identical enemies and feces monsters. So yes, at its price of $17, I do recommend this game. No, I'm not going to say the title again because it's simply too ridiculous for me. Please do subscribe, comment, like, and tell your friends.